audio issue going on, so let's see if we can get it worked out. All right. I think we've got it here. How about now? Thank you for the comments. Look like Jack and Tiffany, everybody letting me know that the audio isn't working. It looks like I've got my audio pinging now, and we should be good to go. Yeah, you know, it's one of those things when it's a YouTube live, and you never know when there's going to be a little hitch in the giddy up. So thank you everybody for letting me know the sound wasn't working. I didn't have my audio pinging, and now I do. There we go. Leon, Kevin, all right. Hey, Michael. Good. Looks like we've got a lot of people in, a lot of people interested in jumping into the chat, which is always good. You know, this is a live event, so if you want to dig into the information and ask some questions, happy to do that. Happy to answer any questions you've got. Hey, Ashton, you're very welcome. I'm glad you want to put them on your calendar. I would suggest if anybody wants to get the notification and put this on the calendar, if you haven't already subscribed to our VantagePoint AI YouTube channel, put that on your subscription list, hit the subscribe button, and you will get these notifications as we set up our lives in advance. So you should be good there. Just a quick introduction in case you weren't here earlier. My microphone wasn't working earlier. My name is Daniel. I'm with VantagePoint AI. We're going to walk through some VantagePoint forecasts. We've got a very busy week this week with mortgage rates, with interest rates, with housing prices. There's so much stuff going on this week. Earnings, from some of the big tech companies, big blue chip company earnings this week. So we've got a lot of stuff that we can certainly dig into with the artificial intelligence, and we're going to take some time digging through it. And I usually save some time at the end for questions, or so we can dig into some charts or information you're interested in. But I thought we'd start today just by spending some time digging into what the forecasts are on the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P. As you know, it is a big week, as I've been saying. There's a lot of things going on, and it's always important to understand what the overall current or the flow of the markets is expected to be. Hey, you, thanks for jumping in here, my friend. Nice to see your name. We've got several of our VantagePoint family members or users of VantagePoint here in the session, which is great. Also, a lot of people that aren't VantagePoint users, trying to soak up as much information as you can, and I applaud you. I applaud you because artificial intelligence is so powerful. And I'm not just talking about artificial intelligence like you're hearing all over the place. I don't know if it's just me or if it's you guys, but it seems like so many companies are throwing around the term artificial intelligence these days. It's everywhere. I'm getting text messages about it. I see it on TV. I'm getting emails about it, ads that pop up on websites I'm on. It seems like artificial intelligence, the word, is being used so much lately. And it's important that everybody understands artificial intelligence is an incredible power. But what I'd like to have everybody understand is that it's not new, right? It's not something that was just created. There's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, but as if you're part of the VantagePoint family already, then you know that Lou Mendelson, our founder, started utilizing artificial intelligence back at Carnegie Mellon. We're talking about many decades ago. Matter of fact, he learned about AI from some of the inventors of AI from Carnegie Mellon. We've been utilizing artificial intelligence here at VantagePoint for individual traders since the late 80s. So all this stuff that you're hearing about artificial intelligence, it's great, but understand that it's a lot of companies are using it to ride that AI train. I want to show you what VantagePoint's artificial intelligence has been doing for so long. Hey, Bruce, Margaret, thank you for being here. Glad you're here. It's okay, right? A little late, better late than never. But I want to show you today what the artificial intelligence in VantagePoint, why it's so powerful, and how we've been helping traders for decades and decades. This artificial intelligence, and actually, let me just change my screen really quickly. This artificial intelligence here, this software that I'm talking about, has been using deep machine learning, neural network processes, and generating market details. I'm talking about financial market data since 1991. And individual traders have been using it since then. So it makes me chuckle a little bit when I see all these ads from all these other companies that are like new AI, revolutionary AI and all this stuff. And it's like, it's not revolutionary. It's an evolution of artificial intelligence, as our founder likes to say. And it's not something that's new. It might be new to them. They might have just figured out how powerful it is or figured out how to use it. But here at VantagePoint, the fact that we hold 2 patents, and we've had 2 patents on this technology for over a decade, and the artificial intelligence in VantagePoint has been learning and growing and helping traders now for over 30 years. That being the first to utilize AI the way we have and being the originators of the artificial intelligence in the financial markets means if you're a VantagePoint family member, you've got the best out there, in my opinion. You've got the tool that has the most credibility, the most longevity. If you don't, then of course you can always go to VantagePointForecast.com and check it out for yourself. But let's take a second. Let's take a second and dive into what I mean, because it's one thing to say, we've been utilizing and deploying artificial intelligence, and we've spent tens and tens of millions of dollars on the artificial intelligence since the late 80s. And then it's another thing to actually show you how we're using it. So I want to show you that. So we're looking at the Dow. One thing I want to point out is these indicators on the chart right now are available in the VantagePoint software, and they are forecasted indicators. They're actually telling you what the trend is expected to do moving forward in the future. We'll walk through the indicators, but first I want to take a step back and talk to you about what the AI is doing, just so everybody can see it, so that as we go through today's analysis, we've got a good baseline. I know there's some people that haven't seen this information before, haven't heard about this information before. So if you are new to our YouTube channel here and how we're using artificial intelligence, this is for you. For everybody that hasn't has seen it, it's always great reinforcement to understand what's going on behind the scenes. So let's go behind the scenes, right? Let's pop the hood. I am right now on the screen, I'm showing you what the artificial intelligence has figured out has the biggest influence on the Dow's movement, on the price of the Dow. And I'm talking about the Dow, the E-mini Dow. If you look at the screen right now, and everybody should be able to see right in the middle of the screen, it says E-mini Dow, and then there's all these markets around it. You see, what AI is capable of doing that humans aren't is processing millions and millions of data points instantaneously and finding hidden patterns and relationships, linear, nonlinear ones. It's capable of doing so much more than, heck, the hundreds of us in this live right now. It can do so much more than we can do without even thinking about it, right? It can process millions of data points and figure out what patterns are there, what hidden patterns are there, what obvious patterns are there. And in this case, how we're using artificial intelligence, the neural networks have looked at the Dow and figured out when the Dow moves up or down, some other things are happening that are causing it to make its move. Some people might say news, some people might say fundamentals or tech. There's a lot of perspectives on it. But what we've been utilizing since 1991 and making available to traders is the ability to analyze global patterns. It's safe to say, if I asked anybody in here, matter of fact, if you could jump into the chat box right now, does anybody disagree with the fact that we are trading and living in a global economy? And what I mean is there are factors that influence what you're trying to trade. There are factors that influence the markets from a domestic level, from a foreign level. It's just happening day in and day out. If anybody disagrees with that, or maybe you agree with that and you have something to say about it, get involved in the chat. I love hearing from traders out there that are looking to do better in the market. So what I'm saying is, we're trading in a global economy, we're living in a global economy, and understanding that there are other influencing factors out there are important to gaining an edge. Because trading is hard, and you're trading against other people, right? For you to make money, they've got to lose money, which means you've got to have an edge. Well, for me, it makes, I've been utilizing this artificial intelligence personally for over 11 years. So it makes complete sense to me that if we're trading and living in a global economy and we need an edge, we've got to find a way to bridge that gap, right? Cross the chasm, as they like to say. Well, the bridge is artificial intelligence, the way we've been using it. As a matter of fact, one of the patents we hold is talking about the fact that we know the markets are global and interconnected, And we're using artificial intelligence to find those hidden patterns and relationships in the global markets to figure out what's impacting what you're trying to trade. Hey, Tiffany. Yep. Okay. Jack, Margaret, I see it. Good. Everybody. So and I've asked this question before. I ask this question often. So some of you may have heard this question from me more than once, because I think it's just so important that we take a step back and think about, what is the AI doing? And in this case, the AI is analyzing global market relationships, looking for hidden patterns to figure out, once it knows those patterns, where an asset is expected to go. In this case, it's looking at the E-mini Dow, and it's figured out that all of these ETFs, stocks, world currencies like the euro, the Swiss franc, precious metals like gold, natural gas, 10-year T-note interest rates, they all have information that is impacting, they all have movements, price action that is impacting the Dow, right? What the AI has done is it's analyzed over 10,000 markets around the world, analyzed millions and millions of data points to figure this out, and then it's figured out how it can impact the Dow, whether the euro is going to have a bullish, or is going to push the Dow higher, pull it lower, or make it go sideways. You see, the AI is capable of doing all of that if you use the neural networks the way that they're capable of being used, right? Now, we've perfected it. We've got 2 patents on that. But I wanted to show this to everybody so that as we go through the analysis today in VantagePoint, ahead of the Fed announcement, the rate decision, ahead of some of the earnings, you know what's going on behind the scenes. Let me just check out the chat really quick and take a look. Yep. Okay, so we're in agreement. Largest casino, Blue Crate. Global market is the largest casino. You need an edge to beat the house, at least be with the house. Yeah, you have to have an edge. You gotta have an edge. Heck, Blue Crate, if you walked past 2 casinos and one said, hey, odds 87.4% in your favor, and the other one said, normal house odds, which casino are you walking into, right? It's kind of funny to think about it that way, but I like your analogy. It makes complete sense. But here, in this case, what we're saying is this is how you gain the edge. This is how you stack the odds in your favor. By doing global market analysis, using artificial intelligence to analyze millions and millions of data points. You see, that's the other problem, in my opinion, is that a lot of the other companies out there that just started using AI, they're not telling you how they're using it. They're not using it to do something that's humanly impossible, only humanly convenient. There's a lot of questions, and obviously I don't dig into all the questions and all the different tools out there, but personally, when I see those ads, I think, yeah, but how are you using AI? You can't just slap AI on something and say, we have AI, right? How are you using it? How can it benefit me? Is it something that's humanly impossible? Is it something that can give me an edge? Or is it just a buzzword? Here at VantagePoint, we take great pride in the fact that it's not just a buzzword. We have been using AI for decades and decades and decades. Heck, we've pioneered AI in the financial markets. Nobody was talking about neural networks like we were back in 1994. It's so funny. I just watched a video clip of Lou Mendelson on CNBC back in 1994. It was all grainy video. I probably have it here somewhere. I can pull it up. But it was this grainy video, and he was talking about using neural networks to analyze global markets. That was 94. Pretty remarkable when you see that. When I saw it, and every time I see it, I'm like, it's just being the pioneer, being the first ones out, being the originator, and the company that is dedicated decades and decades to it makes me feel proud. And I'm glad everybody that's here, that's part of the VantagePoint family, recognizes that. And if you're not, that's okay. It's now you're too late. You can join the VantagePoint family at any time. Let's dive into the forecast now. Let's take a look. Here's the Dow. What we see on the Dow are blue line, gray line, green shaded area, some lines. But they're lines, and they're designed to be read like oscillating lines or moving averages, but there's so much power in these lines because the blue line on the screen is a blue predicted moving average. You see, the AI has analyzed all of those global market relationships and figured out on the Dow where it's expected to go, and then that information has created these predictive indicators. Right? These predictive indicators are designed to give us the directional movements. And here we can see on the Dow, VantagePoint is forecasting at 6:30 p.m. last night over the next few days that the Dow is still expected to remain higher. This is actually the prediction for the Dow today, the predicted high and the predicted low. It's a gray bar over here on the right. Let me zoom in and show you what I mean. This gray bar over here on the right is saying that the Dow is expecting a higher high and a higher low than yesterday, today. So what we've got here, let me, if I can go grab a pen really quickly just so you can follow me along. Here we go. What we've got here is the fact that the trend is expected to move higher. I'm just going to write the word trend here so that we're all on the same page. The trend is expected to continue higher over the next few days. Sure, there's always down days and up trends, but all in all, this predicted moving average is saying the trend is expected to move higher and continue higher over the next couple of days. This is saying that the predicted high is expected to be higher and the predicted low is expected to be higher. So what we're getting from this information is the fact that all in all, the Dow is expected to move higher, right? We also can see this green and red bar right here. This is called the predicted neural index. Now this has been tested and proven with out of sample data tests to say that when it is green, prices have strength, are expected to move higher. So what we're seeing, and if you're a VantagePoint user, you probably saw this last night already, but if you're not, at 6:30 at night, what you see here is a set of indicators that are predicting market movements, market strength, and market trends over the next 1 to 3 days, all right? 1 to 3 days. Not a very good 3, but I think you get the point, right? If that's the case, then we know that we're expecting the Dow to move higher, right? We could go down here and check out the momentum of these predictive indicators. There are 3 lines here that give us the 1, 2, and 3 day momentum of these predictive indicators. These all have artificial intelligence enhancements. As a matter of fact, what we do is we use that global market data that I was talking about a few minutes ago to create predicted prices. We're generating, you've heard of generative AI, you've heard of ChatGPT where it can generate like language and all these things that can create pictures based on AI. Well, they're generating articles, they're generating stories, they're generating pictures with AI. In this case, how we're using generative AI, and we have been for decades, is we're generating predicted market data. See, we're actually predicting typical price over the next 1, 2, and 3 days to create these indicators. That predicted typical price, in case you're wondering, is made up of the high, low, close. We're predicting that over the next 3 days, then using that predictive information to create all these indicators I'm talking about. I mean, think about that for a second. We're not just finding, standard technical indicators and reading them. We're actually changing the formula of those standard technical indicators by adding predicted prices to the formulas that are generated from the AI. The neural networks are powerful, right? So in this case, what we're seeing for the Dow is we're expecting the Dow to continue bullishly, even with the rate hike expectations, which we'll talk about that in a second. But what we can see is that Dow is expected and was expected to move higher today. Even if I put support and resistance on this chart, you can see that the Dow is expected to move higher, and you can see that there is some bullishness moving through the next resistance level. And that's one of the things I'd like everybody to understand, is that there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of information related to the markets out there. You don't want to get overly confused, or you don't want to get outdated or information that could lead you astray. What we're looking at here is accuracy up to 87.4% in the overall market movements. The Dow's at 35,645, right dead with lit, right there, that gray bar. Here's a predicted high, here's a predicted low. 35,645 is right there. And you can see moving right up to that next resistance level. That's why I put that resistance level on there, so you can see where, as momentum peels off, where things could slow down. That's at 35,694. So we're seeing the Dow move higher. We're seeing it move higher just as VantagePoint predicted. And for the users of this technology, you had it at 6:30 last night, right? You knew this information moving into it. And it's moving exactly the way that we expected it to. Even with this momentum starting to peel off. Look down here at the bottom. You can see we got this high in this momentum indicator. This is the 1 day momentum indicator saying, yeah, it still has higher lows in this current trend that's in. Here's the beginning of the trend that was forecasted short term. It's still making higher lows, but we can see that the short-term momentum is peeled off a little bit. So we're not expecting the Dow to go whoop, super high, super fast. It's not a big rally. We're expecting the Dow to move higher with a potential up here at the high, the predicted high being, let's see, 35,804 and the predicted low being 35,425. That's the potential range of the day with some bullishness. So it's playing along exactly with where VantagePoint indicated it would. I like to make the joke that the market is doing what VantagePoint's AI told it to. Obviously, it's not working that way, but it's kind of a funny joke. And by the way, this information that we're going over, this is educational. I'm not providing trading advice. We know trading is hard. You got to manage your risk no matter how accurate this is. But from an educational standpoint, knowing the power of artificial intelligence, knowing that you can stack the odds in your favor and gain an edge, it's pretty powerful if you ask me. And you can see it here. Even if we go through, we can add volume, we can add other indicators. Some of you like to use RSI and ATR. Look, there's predicted RSI in VantagePoint. There's a predicted percent R over here in VantagePoint. So there's a lot of different indicators. Look at the RSI line. RSI line is just creating higher lows. So there is certainly bullish momentum going on here. So there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different indicators you can add. But I just wanted to show you that even as we add some of these indicators like ATR, for instance, we can see that percent R has bullishness to it. ATR is dropping, which indicates bullishness in the market. This is all predictive information generated from the AI. So what we're expecting is more bullishness in the Dow. Here's the E-mini NASDAQ. Look at the trend that has been going on the E-mini NASDAQ this whole time. Take a look at this, right? When you take a look at the NASDAQ and you realize that the AI forecasted the NASDAQ to move higher on a long-term forecast on 428, right? And how do I know it was forecasted to move higher? This is the NASDAQ, by the way. You can see right here at the top, this is the NASDAQ. The predicted moving average crossed above the simple moving average, indicating bullishness. The neural index was green, that shaded area. I also have the neural strength on here, which is a predicted momentum indicator of the neural index. All of those things were indicating bullishness back here. Well, that blue line stayed above that gray line the entire time. That trend was forecasted to move higher from a long-term trend forecast and is still expected to move higher, because we can zoom in and go to the current day's data over here on the right. If we zoom in a bit here, look, the blue line is still above. We have a little bit of consolidation happening here at the end. The predicted high is still expected to be higher with a potential lower low. We do have the neural index turning red, but we have volume turning from bearish to bullish with a drop in ATR indicating bullishness. We can dig into the indicators as in depth as you want to, or stay as surface level as you want to, but the end story here is that there is still bullishness expected in the NASDAQ. Consolidated bullishness, remember that note I said about managing your risk? But all in all, what we're saying here is that the key to what the artificial intelligence is doing is saying that there is more bullishness than bearishness in this trend expected, and this trend has been going for quite some time. That is valuable information, if you ask me, especially when you go check out the NASDAQ and you realize that the NASDAQ is moving higher as well today. The NASDAQ is at what? Let me zoom in on this. 15,670? 15,670. There you go. Right near that predicted high, just where VantagePoint indicated it would, and that bullishness played through and is playing through. It's only 11:56 a.m. Eastern time. So when you look at this, it's safe to say that using the artificial intelligence and having these forecasts before the market opens, this came out at 6:30 last night. Every night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, you can get this kind of information. Here's the S&P 500. Again, tomorrow we have the Fed announcement on, there's a rate decision expected on whether or not they're going to increase rates. I think it's safe to say, based on the fact they didn't increase rates last time, we know that inflation, has had some change, but nothing drastic based on the comments from Powell. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, we're expecting a rate increase, probably 25 basis points from 525 to 550, something like that. I'm not expecting anything different, but what the artificial intelligence is saying here is that there is still overall bullishness in this market moving into that decision. Will that decision reverse the markets? Right now, the AI is saying there's some consolidation, but more bullishness than bearishness. Based on what the AI is saying, that gives me information that I need and you could use to make decisions around the financial market movements. And that, my friends, is an edge. Is it right all the time? No. Is it 100%? No. If anybody tells you their AI or their forecast or their speculation or anything is 100% accurate, it's just not. It's impossible to be 100% on anything. But knowing the key here is that there is bullishness overall expected in this from across all three indices. That's powerful in my book. Obviously, we can dig deeper, but then taking it a step further and taking a look at the VIX. Look at this. Here's the VIX forecast. The VIX was forecasted to drop lower and lower, right? Take a second and just take a look at that. If the VIX is expected to drop lower and lower, and everybody should be able to see it on the screen right now, the VIX index, as the VIX drops, right, then you can expect more bullishness in the market. Well, you can see if I zoom in here, let me zoom in. Here is a resistance level and a support level on the VIX. The VIX has been in this channel now since it moved back into this channel for a couple of weeks, right here. And you can see that all in all, it's just banging around between, this channel. And this channel was set some time ago and had a new resistance level set now. The predicted high on the VIX, you can see right here in the VantagePoint software, is 1571, right? Predicted low at 1492. Well, that means that there is not a lot of fear currently in the market. The volatility is at a low, which is why you would see the S&P move higher. The S&P, right, 45.95 currently, 45.95. VantagePoint predicted the S&P high of 46.01. The day's not done yet. The high on the S&P, what was the high? Let me see if I can pull the high up here. The ES, the high on the S&P, 45.97.25. How about that? Right up there near VantagePoint's predicted high. And this information was available early, 6:30 last night Eastern time, long before trading session on the S&P even started. That's an edge, right? When we talk about edge, we talk about forecasts and using artificial intelligence. I think you can see that's the case. We'll get to the Russell here in a little bit. I've got some other things I want to dig into, but I think it's safe to say, and I'll save some time at the end so we can dig into that, right? Good. From a predicted high and predicted low standpoint, the question on the table in the chat is, can you show the predicted high and predicted low for tomorrow? Yes, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time this evening, the predicted high and the predicted low for tomorrow will be available for anybody that's using the VantagePoint software. Every night at 6:30, the 3-day trend prediction updates, the 1-day predicted high and predicted low updates, the momentum indicators, and all the predictive indicators that are derived from doing that analysis on those millions and millions of data points, they update so that then you can get that information pre-market the day before on the overall expectations, right? So some of the other notes, some of the other things to think about that I wanted to just make sure we're on the same page about, because we know that there is a Fed decision on rates tomorrow. Some of the things I was looking at was the U.S. housing pricing, U.S. home price index. To know that, from my notes here, to know that the home values have increased but not as much as forecasted tells me that what the Fed is doing is working, and I don't expect them to change based on the information that I'm seeing. Matter of fact, the house price index increased for the 4th month in a row. If you haven't checked that out, if you haven't looked at that information to know that the house price index increased for the 4th month in a row, and it increased by almost 0.5% more, that's valuable information about the real estate market. When you take a step back and think about what that means for the dollar, that means strength for the dollar, for the US dollar. there's a lot of things that are going on in the markets this week. And based on what we're seeing from the artificial intelligence, what I'm hearing and reading about the Fed decision, and based on what I'm reading about home values, right? I think even mortgage information is coming out tomorrow. What I'm seeing there is that we are seeing strength in the overall market. And the artificial intelligence is telling me that there is bullishness in the overall market. And it's telling you that. You can see it right here on the screen. These are the actual forecasts that the current VantagePoint family members and users of this AI get on a daily basis. So that's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm seeing overall, more bullishness than bearishness. There's a little bit of consolidation happening, so we can expect that over the next couple of days. All right, let's talk about earnings for a second. Let's talk about earnings and dig into the earnings details. Oh, let's hold on one second. The Russell, I think that was something somebody had asked for in the chat, right? Probably the mini Russell. There we go. Pull that up and take a look at it. There you go. So from a mini Russell standpoint, and you can see the top of the screen, we got the mini Russell, and you can just look through this, and this is something you were asking for. We're seeing the same type of information that we were seeing related to the mini Russell as we were seeing for the NASDAQ, the Dow, the S&P, right? Bullishness from a trend, bullishness from a overall strength standpoint, bullishness from a price standpoint. Let's go take a look. Let me see if I can pull up the Russell here and see what's going on with the Russell. E-mini Russell 1981. VantagePoint forecasted a high today of 1991 and a low of 1968. It's at 1981, so it has moved up. It's moved bullishly. VantagePoint indicated that. We have ATR dropping. We have a volume turning from bearish to bullish. So we have conditions for continued bullishness, and we're getting exactly that. So hopefully that's information that is valuable for you. Yeah, absolutely. The last rate hike. Somebody's asking, can you go back and show the last rate hike? Let's see. I'm trying to think of the date the last rate hike happened. Actually, it was already on the chart. Right? I think it was, they hiked in May, took off June, hiked in May, so that would be right here in this range, right? This is where they hiked last time, and I can go get the actual date. Let's see, RA, if you've got the date there in front of you, my friend, you can pop that in, and it's on the chart, it's already on the chart, so last rate hike, May 3rd. May 3rd, there you go, May 3rd. So after, it's right here on the side of my box, RA. So right here is where their last rate hike was, and then look what happened. And we can go back and we can analyze all the information. You can back test everything that you want to back test. You can look at all the information available in VantagePoint. Here's a long-term forecast. Here's 5.3. Here's 5.4. VantagePoint was bullish moving into the rate hike. The rate hike dropped prices, the value of the S&P 500 one day, and then look, boom, market rallied from there. Matter of fact, since the last rate hike, RA, markets are up about 11.5%, my friend. And yes, VantagePoint forecasted that trend to the upside. You can see it there on the screen, right? Good. Hey Pam, welcome. Glad you were able to get on. But to answer your question, RA, that's where the last rate hike was, and this is what the market has done since then. June was where they did not raise rates. Let me see if I can get to my data. In case anybody's wondering, I use investing.com. They've got free economic calendars and information that everybody can go look at any time you want to. So it's just a website. It's just a website. So May 3rd. June 14th. Here we go. June 14th, no rate hike. That would be right here in this day. You can see what happened. One day the market moved up, pulled back, created a new support level, and then kept on rolling. So there's always down days and up trends, right? There's always movements that are going to impact the market short term. What the artificial intelligence said through all that period is not to worry. Still bullishness from a long-term forecast standpoint, all right? hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for getting involved too. I appreciate that. It's always good to dig into the details. All right, right. If they increase rates, the question on the table is, can we expect, well, remember, what VantagePoint is saying is there's overall more bullishness in the markets with some consolidation, which means if they increase rates like everybody's expected to, we can see that in consolidation. And the 6:30 update tonight at 6:30 will be very telling on how much bullishness we're expecting. But right now, yes, we are expecting bullishness post that hike once that initial oomph, that emotional oomph. Because remember, trader sentiment, short-term sentiment, and Fed announcements and fundamentals will have an impact on the market. I don't want anybody to think I'm not saying those don't matter. They do matter, but they only matter for about a 72-hour period. That's when the relationships, the connections with the global markets take back over again, right? So they matter, something to keep an eye on, is something to manage risk with, but just understand they only happen occasionally. Even if they do an announcement once a month like they do with rates, that's 12 times a year. There's over 200 trading days a year. What really drives the market on a consistent basis are the influencing factors around the world, domestically, here in the U.S., I mean, just everywhere. Doesn't matter what market you're talking about. The DAX in Germany, there's influencing factors that are driving the U.S. markets here, and the AI is capable of learning all that. So good. Blue Crate, how do I get those red and green arrows on my charts? We can reach out to you. You can reach out if you want to. Blue Crate, if you're a VantagePoint family member, which it sounds like you are, give us a call and we can connect you with our VantagePoint University specialists and trainers. That is support and resistance. That is support and resistance drawn for you with verified support and resistance zones in the VantagePoint software. Matter of fact, if anybody hasn't seen those before, there's a video on our YouTube. If you go to our channel for VantagePoint AI and click on the lives, you'll see a video where I broke down reading support and resistance in detail and understanding how those arrows work in the VantagePoint software. If you've got more questions after you watch that video, or even before, if you want to talk to somebody here at VantagePoint, give us a call on our phone number, and we'd be happy to connect you with the right people. All right, let's move on to earnings a little bit, and then we can come back to some of the other things to take a look at. Let's move on to earnings a little bit, because there were some earnings calls this morning that I want to show you how powerful the artificial intelligence is around earnings. For instance, General Electric here, you can see GE had, by the way, if anybody hasn't seen this move on GE, check this move out. I'm looking at the long-term forecast on GE, and the long-term forecast on GE goes back months and months and months and months. Look at this. The artificial intelligence had a forecast at the beginning of the year for GE. And if I put on all the predicted moving averages, matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take off the arrows really quickly just so you can see this. It's just remarkable how powerful this is. The AI on a long-term crossover, this is a triple cross. These are 3 predicted moving averages. Had prices on GE staying bullishly the entire time. We didn't get more than one close below that predicted crossover until that's one, and then it closed above. There's another one, and then it closed right at. Maybe here we had a little bit of a pullback, but look at how powerful this is. Take a look at this. This is the entire year on GE through 1, 2, 3 earnings calls, right? That the predicted trend was expected to move higher the entire time. This is a substantial move that was forecasted with the artificial intelligence at the end of last year, almost 70%. These are hypothetical gains, but take a look at this. This is GE. 1,000 share move is a $45,000 profit hypothetically here in this one single trend using the artificial intelligence. Even if we cut it back and say, all right, well, I like to trade a few days at a time. You've got one trend to here. Look, one fantastic bullish trend that maybe had enough volatility here to take you out. Here's another one. Depending on how you trade, you can break these trades up into smaller trends and smaller moves that can create substantial gains. No matter how you slice it, huge advantages to using the artificial intelligence. And in case you're not sure what you're looking at, this is General Electric on the long-term forecast. And if I zoom back in, Artificial intelligence, the shaded area was green, was expecting higher highs. Overall technicals were pulling back a little bit, but you can see if we go back 48 hours, that would be 24, 48 hours. There was bullishness expected from an earnings standpoint. GE rocketed north, by the way. It's up at 116. Let me show you what that is. This is why the artificial intelligence is so valuable. 116 is off this chart. GE jumped after earnings and kept on riding up higher. And it's just a monster move that the artificial intelligence was on top of. And that's what I love about this. It's not going to predict perfectly around earnings all the time. Heck, it's not going to predict perfectly every time. But getting the edge, having the advantage in your favor is very, 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 very probable that you find these things more often. Sherwin-Williams, here's another earnings call from this morning. Blue line was above, predicted higher highs, predicted short-term strength. We got increasing volume. Look, you can see that there's a lot of bullishness here on Sherwin-Williams, right? There you go. What was forecasted on Sherwin-Williams? More bullishness. What did Sherwin-Williams do? Let's look. 278. Sherwin-Williams is at 278.02 now after it pulled back off of some highs, but 278.02 is way up here. On top of this forecast, on top of what was forecasted originally, that earnings added a substantial gain to this that could have been on the right side. Look at that. It went from where it closed yesterday, about a 15% hypothetical gain to over 20% gain from the beginning of the AI forecast. And don't worry, if you've got a stock you want to take a look at, I'm happy to dive in and take a look at some of those stocks here at the end. But I promise some of the review and some of the forecasts moving into earnings on some of these stocks, and I want to make sure that we take a moment to go into that. Here's a reversal on GM. Folks, the artificial intelligence indicated a reversal on GM last week, right? Going into earnings. So the question that you probably have is, all right, it's very clear that it was forecasting a reversal. Here's across to the downside. Here's the red neural index. Here's the increase in ATR. This is a bullish trend forecasted to reverse. You're seeing it on the screen with the AI. This would have been date-wise 7/20. That was Thursday. So Thursday last week is when this reversal was forecasted. GM, if you go look at GM right now, GM is trading at 37.35. GM is trading down here. Take a step back for me and just think about that for a second. What did I say? 37.53, so right around here. So this is where GM is trading right now, and you can see on 7/20, a trend reversal was expected. I have a rhetorical question for you. Entertain me if you could, or play along. Go to the chat box and tell me if you knew that GM was expected to reverse to the downside, and then figure it out based on that information that it had a substantial move to the downside after earnings, a substantial bearish move. Does that feel like an edge? Does that feel like the artificial intelligence that's been working for decades and decades gives you an advantage? Because it does me, but again, I've been utilizing this technology for a decade, 11 years now, personally. And every time I see stuff like this, like Sherwin-Williams, like GE, like the S&P and Dow, and everything we've looked at so far, it just gives me a very powerful feeling about how big of an advantage this technology can give you, right? Hey, Oma, those up and down green arrows, that's verified support and resistance zones that the software is drawing automatically if you've got that indicator added. So that. Again, there's a video link in the chat. We put a link right there in the chat that you can click on if you want to watch the support and resistance video that I did live a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now. I don't know, time is going so fast, but you can watch that and walk through the details and understand that, right? So you can see exactly what's happened here. That red arrow is identifying a resistance level that was created by having this high point, and this green arrow is a support level that was created by having this low point. So we can dig inside that if you want to a little bit, right? Good. Yep, absolutely. Question on the table is, can this work with stocks that are under Under 10 bucks, yeah, you should see the lights out forecast on Carvana when it was under 10 bucks and some of those other stocks. Yes. So let me answer your question, Kevin. Let me dig into it. Kevin's question is, can it work on small cap stocks or penny stocks? It depends what you're talking about. A penny stock is something that's, less than a buck. Small cap stocks are, the cap of the stock doesn't really apply to the share price, right? The market cap is not the same thing as share price. I think what you're saying are newer stocks that do have a small market cap or at least have a lower share price. Yes, absolutely. The artificial intelligence and the software can forecast for those as long as when the AI has done its global market analysis, that it can find those hidden patterns and relationships. And then when we use those hidden patterns and relationships, the process is called intermarket analysis, by the way. That's a patented process, Kevin, and everybody else that's listening. Once it can find those hidden patterns and relationships, then we use it to forecast that stock or that asset, right? This works on futures. This works on cryptocurrencies, ETFs, foreign exchange. It works on all of those different asset classes. But once it forecasts those trends, then we test that data to make sure it's a high enough forecast. We won't give you any forecasts in the VantagePoint software at 70% or lower. 70% is our bottom threshold. If something falls below that, we take it out of the software. You can flip a coin and get 50-50. So think about that. If you can flip a coin and get 50-50, having a 70% accuracy at a low end with a high of 87.4 means you're moving your accuracy, the probability in your favor up dramatically if you're getting 50-50 with a coin toss. Got to think about that. The accuracy doesn't start at 0. It starts at a random 50-50 with a coin toss. That's a huge jump. So we'll take a look at some more of those. But Biogen had earnings this morning as well, and you can look right here on the chart, right here in the VantagePoint software. There was overall bearishness on Biogen. Earnings on Biogen came out, and it jumped up pre-market and then just tanked. Right now it's at 266. It's off the chart. Well, would anybody have felt really bullishly about Biogen from an earnings standpoint with this major downtrend going on, with the neural index having weakness 48 hours ago, with any of the information that you're seeing from the AI, would you have felt very strong about that earnings? Probably not. You probably had mixed emotions. And by the way, some people don't trade earnings. Some people see this flag and realize, okay, earnings are coming up. I'm going to go wait on the sideline. Maybe you bought puts. Maybe you sold some calls in this. Maybe you just like to short the stock. See, there's a lot of different trading styles out there. And that's one of the great things about what VantagePoint does. It doesn't tell you what to do with your money. It doesn't tell you where to place the trade or how. It doesn't do it for you. It's not a bot. It's not a black box. It's telling you with incredible accuracy what the market, what the asset, what that stock is expected to do. You could take that then to your trade plan and use your trade plan to make the decisions on how to trade and invest your money. That's putting the power in your hands, right? Here's Spotify. Moving into Spotify, you can see that Spotify overall had some bullishness. If we look at the short-term forecast on Spotify, check this out, folks. Fresh crossover here on the short term. The one-day forecast was forecasting Spotify down days and days ago. Everything about the neural index was down. I mean, Spotify going into earnings did not look good in the artificial intelligence. And you can see it right here on the screen. And, Spotify is at 140. Spotify is, tanked post earnings. It's just absolute rout. And moving into earnings, it did not look good. The AI was saying the 1 day, the 2 day forecast down, bearish. Look at ATR, predicted ATR screaming to the upside with increasing bearish volume. This information, these predictions available in the software right here on Spotify could have helped save people a lot of money or made a lot of money using this kind of information. So at the end of the day, the key here is that you need an edge, and what I'm showing you is clear analysis on how to apply this. Here's another one. We've got several, and I've got some that are coming up. Here's 3M. 3M was forecasted bullish, expected some more bullishness. There was a lot of bullish strength. Look, bullishness, you can see bullish strength happening with an increase in the neural. You can see that ATR was dropping, which means bullishness in the market. There's a lot of great indicators here in the VantagePoint software that are saying bullishness. Not everything, right? The predicted high and predicted low are saying lower. It could have a higher day, but yesterday had a pretty good high. 3M, based off of this bullish forecast and its earnings information. Where is it? 3M. 109.44. 3M's up here. 109.54, 109.44. That's where 3M is right now. On top of that forecast from VantagePoint, take a look at this. On top of that forecast from VantagePoint, just the last 9 days could have produced almost 1% a day in this hypothetical trend, looking at the underlying asset, all right? Now, let's talk about some earnings that are coming up, right? Let's talk about some earnings that are expected after the market closed today, right? Think about that. You're about to get the forecast for Microsoft. Here's the forecast for Microsoft going in to the earnings call later today. I think it's after the market closes today. The estimated on earnings, if you look at VantagePoint, you can see the estimate is 254. I think I'm seeing 254 and 255 in other places, right? You can see that there is some major consolidation going on Microsoft. There's even some short-term bearishness forecasted in Microsoft. A lot of consolidation going on. What the AI is saying right now related to Microsoft is that some things are bullish, some things are bearish. Momentum is shifting off of this. It's down at a support level, which could push it bullishly. We can add things like RSI to it. We can add, here's RSI that's in a consolidated range, stochastic, bearish projection, right? Fractal RSI in a bearish projection with increase in fractal energy. There's so many tools available in the VantagePoint software. Some of them are available right out of the box. Some of them you can add if you like the more advanced indicators. It all depends on where you are. But when you look at this, you can see that moving into the earnings call tonight, there's a lot of indecision around Microsoft, which takes the risk up dramatically, right? Very hard to forecast Microsoft around earnings, and you can see that right here with the earnings index. It's about 54%. The AI is about 54% accurate around earnings time on Microsoft, which means there's a lot of indecision and very difficult to forecast it. But all in all, we're getting more consolidation than anything. So that call tonight is going to be a very, very important call and could push Microsoft a tad bit higher based on what we're seeing here. Google has some bullishness going on as well. This call is also tonight. You can see that VantagePoint has an estimate of $1.32 on Google. That estimation it comes with a very high forecast. The AI earnings index is a 71%. I'm not sure that that's going to be enough. That 132 is going to be enough to push Google higher. But from what the AI is saying is that this could actually have some bearishness to it. Look, you can look at what's going on in the markets here and see that there's a lot of consolidation. Google is in a channel. Google is clearly in a channel from a support and resistance standpoint. Momentum, those lines are braiding around each other, meaning that there's some major consolidation. You got ATR dropping, you've got volume bullish, but also dropping. So we've got some consolidation going on here. Look at this. Here's the neural index. Neural index is coming off of a recent low and moving bullishly. So again, a good example of where the artificial intelligence can give you a major advantage. And right now, what it's saying, moving into the market close and forecasting for Google, there is a lot of indecision around Google as well. It's not as clear cut. But what the AI is saying, based on what we're seeing here, is that there could be a little bit of bullishness post this earnings call on Google. You know, short-term pullback on price, and then things move bullishly based on this trend prediction, right? Visa is also forecasted tonight, and when you're looking at the Visa forecast, you can see that this predicted moving average has come right back down to the gray line, the simple moving average, and they're literally on top of each other as of 6:30 last night. There's overall bullishness in this market. From a neural index standpoint, predicted high and predicted low are expected to be higher today on Visa's forecast. There's you know some movement going on here, but look at momentum. Momentum has shifted, and momentum is now. Look at these lines are all right here stacked up. It's consolidating. Look, when you see these lines stack up like this, Look what price does. When you see these lines stack up like this in the middle, look what price does. It gets into this channel. That's the artificial intelligence telling you channeling is expected. So we're expecting Visa to move sideways today. We're expecting the trend to be weaker. We're expecting momentum to move sideways into that earnings call this evening. The estimated earnings on VantagePoint is $2.11, and the accuracy of predicting the trends around Visa at earnings time is 70% based on the VantagePoint AI index. I'm walking through this information pretty quickly. I'm walking through these forecasts because these are the forecasts that you can use on a daily basis for earnings that are coming out this evening. You can prepare yourself for that kind of information thanks to the benefit of the artificial intelligence, right? Let's see what else we got in here. Visa. Oh, yeah. Here is Snap. Here's the Snap forecast. This is by the way, this has been a great trend forecasted with VantagePoint. I think it was Kevin that was asking about things under 10 bucks. There you go. There's a great example of it. And that's a 41% move in 46 trading days. Hypothetical gain here, but you can see that is a substantial move, 41% from where the AI forecasted Snap to move higher, right? You can see it. And then you can see moving into the current market, moving into today, there is consolidation happening. More bullishness than bearishness, but consolidation happening in Snap. When I say consolidation, what I mean is the artificial intelligence has a low predicted down here around 1235. We could see Snap anywhere within this trading range today. And that trading range, I'd expect it to see it down here on this part as of what this predicted trend indicator is saying. So what I say when I'm saying down here around this part, I'm talking around that 1260, the bottom part of this predicted candle. Why do I say that? Look at what's going on with the predicted momentum. 2 of the 3 predicted momentum lines are creating lower highs. Only one of them is sideways, and that is the one-day forecast, which means momentum is peeling off of this. Even if I go put % R or predicted RSI on this, right? Even if I put those on here, I can see that momentum is peeling away. This is an RSI forecast, and it's peeling away right now, and so is % R. Here's my % R line. Look, lower highs in this trend. So we're seeing momentum peel away from Snap into earnings, saying that there's consolidation expected, and then that earnings information is due out tonight after the market closes. The estimate of negative 24 cents. Negative 24 cents is the estimate in VantagePoint, and the AI forecast for Snap around earnings is about 68% accurate. All right. Good, good. Hey, Blue Crate, I see you're taking off. By the way, before you go, if you want, put a ticker into the chat box. If there's a certain ticker you want to take a look at, and if there's a certain setup or indicator set you want me to take a look at in the software, I'm happy to do that. As you can see, I'm completely transparent. We're looking at the forecast. We can dig into the details. We can dig into the whatever information can help you understand what's expected to happen based on what you're seeing in the VantagePoint software. Hey, Selena. Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Let me just look at the chat box and see. Analyze KSCP, if that's something that we have. KSCP, remember, Nightscope, there we go. Technology stock, sure. That was from Breaking Bread. Here you go. Here's KSCP. We had a very strong bullish forecast on 6/28. This was 49 cents. From then until now, from that forecast, Breaking Bread, until the close yesterday on KSCP, that is a 199% bullish move to the upside, right? If you're questioning what is KSCP Nightscope expected to do based on what the artificial intelligence is saying, here's the predicted high, here's the predicted low. We can zoom in on this and see it is deep in this resistance level, and there's this old support level that's about to get canceled here that is pushing and keeping prices higher. So we've got bullishness on Nightscope, we've got bullishness on the strength, on the neural index, we've got ATR coming off of this high, indicating bullishness and increasing bullish volume. So yeah, we certainly have, breaking bread, we certainly have bullishness expected for Nightscope. It's already up 200% from the forecast. Interested in your question related to this, were you able to catch this? I don't know if you have the VantagePoint software or not, but were you able to catch this move from 60 cents up to where it is now? And if not, would the AI have been convincing enough for you at that time to take advantage of it? Kind of interested in your take there. That'd be interesting to see if you're still in this session. So, Chris, we looked at Microsoft, but happy to take a look at Apple. Let me just pull up Apple here and take a look. Let's see. All right, looking at Apple. Bullish from a long, by the way, this is probably one of the best trend predictions next to GE in a long time. Look, Apple was forecasted to move higher back in March, and VantagePoint's long-term forecast on Apple hasn't changed its tune the entire time. And you can see right here on the screen, things are consolidating for Apple, but there's still bullishness expected in the trend because the blue line is above and it's shaded green. There's room to the next resistance level. The predicted high is here, not higher than yesterday's high, but we could still expect prices to move up from yesterday's close. There's bearishness on the high and the low. We've got the neural index strength creating a higher low here. Take a look. Here is the current low of this, and here is the old low, and you can see that's a slightly bit higher low on the neural index strength. We can see the neural index strength has rounded out and started to point back up, so we're getting a shift in momentum on the neural index, even though it's still red. And we're getting some consolidation from the momentum indicators. ATR rolled over with bullish volume happening, so we've got more bullishness expected based on what we're seeing from an Apple standpoint for today. Prices are expected to move higher, and over the next couple of days the trend has continued to move higher. Although it's channeling, everybody's got to understand there's some consolidation happening. There is more bullishness expected in Apple than bearishness for who was asking. Was that Chris? Let me go back. There you go, Chris. There you go, Chris. Does it predict splits? RA, I'm not sure if you're. Does the artificial intelligence predict when a stock decides to split? I don't know that's something that's somebody would be predicting, or they talk about splits coming for weeks and months at a time, so I don't know that that's relevant to making some swing trades in the market. But maybe I just don't understand your question. Maybe reach out to us and we can dig into that a little bit more detail. Let's take a look here. What other ticker? NVIDIA. You know what's funny about NVIDIA? Our founder, in a book he wrote a long time ago, wrote about NVIDIA having a dramatic impact and being a stock that people need to pay attention to. Might have been the 90s. I'm trying to remember the date. I don't remember exactly when. I'd have to go get the book to take a look at it, but I think it was $90 a share back then. It's just remarkable at his vision and foresight in the artificial intelligence, which he's passed on to Lane Mendelson, our president. So here's NVIDIA. Looking at NVIDIA, you can see that VantagePoint forecasted NVIDIA on the latest move to move higher, 428 on the long-term forecast. On the most recent forecast move higher on 7-Eleven, prices moved up dramatically on NVIDIA. The question you probably have on the table is, what is the long-term forecast on NVIDIA moving forward? And we can see that the overall forecast here is bullishness on the long term. I can look at the 1 day, the 2 day, 3 day. We can look at several things, but there is a big shift happening, right? We're starting to see a lot of things turn bearishly here. So although the longer term trend still has some bullishness in it, VantagePoint is saying not expected for it to trend really strong for a really long time, right? We could see prices at 454, maybe even a little bit higher, but this resistance level is pretty strong. Let me check. The resistance level might be a 52-week high. It is. Check that out. We have an indicator that identifies a 52-week high. Here it hit it. Here it failed off of that resistance. Here it failed off of that resistance. So the expectation that NVIDIA breaks that 52-week high is pretty low at this point. It's only at 450, 460 right now, but there's not enough momentum and volume to break through that. So we're getting some major channeling expected in NVIDIA. This is a great example of covered call scenarios, right? Using the predictive information in VantagePoint to know when a good time to write a covered call is, and there was several of them, over this trend. Great opportunities here. So Nvidia still has some bullishness left in it. It's just not a strong bullish move based on what the artificial intelligence is saying about the trend. LSPD. Doesn't sound familiar. I didn't think so. LSPD is not a stock that the artificial intelligence forecasts with at least 70% accuracy. And you know what I love about that? Who asked for RA? I always ask the question that if the AI that is way more powerful than the human brain, heck, 7,500 human brains, I don't know the number, but if the AI that is way more powerful and can do something that is humanly impossible and find hidden patterns in relationships and find things that are impossible for you and I to see and analyze to figure out that where something is expected to go. If the AI can't get 70% accuracy, is that something you should trust trading your hard-earned money with, right? I understand that it's a risk game, right? In case anybody's wondering, there's a major risk to trading, right? You could lose a lot of money, which is why you got to have good money management. And one of the money management rules that I'd like to pay attention to, and this is good information for you from an educational standpoint, is if the AI can't forecast it with incredible accuracy, 70 to 87.4% accuracy, then why do I think I can? Why do I think I can use that from a money management standpoint? If the AI can't give me an edge, then I'm not willing to risk my capital in it or think about risking capital in it, right? Just a money management tool that I like to think about, right? There you go, Breaking Bread. I love it. So you sold, Breaking Bread's answering the question about where they sold out at $1.15 on that stock we were looking at, Nightscope, $1.15. So the question is, at $1.15, is there more there, right? Is there more there that you could have capitalized on with the artificial intelligence? Would you have the confidence to hold on? You made a killing, but absolutely, certainly another 50 cents there. And that's the benefit that the AI can bring you. So thank you for answering my question. That's helpful. A nice move, by the way. Nice move. I like it. I like it. MBV. All right. Fresh forecast on this. We've got earnings coming up soon on AbbVie. That's ABBV. We're expecting a potential low in AbbVie of 141.67, so a little pullback. We see the momentum. Check this out, folks. Look at the momentum indicators down here at the bottom. You see this? When I say momentum indicators are rounding out, look at that. That's the rounding out I'm talking about right there. It's like I see a car coming up to a stop sign, right? They hit the brakes and whoop, they start to slow down. That's the neural index. That is literally the artificial intelligence momentum saying, oh, something is peeling off of this. Right? We're deep into this resistance level and momentum is shifting. We even have the one-day forecasted momentum peeling off of that and the 2 and the 3 days starting to level out. So we're seeing a lot of things change on this right now on AbbVie. Let's take a look at the short-term forecast, the one-day forecast on this consolidation. So yeah, look at that. The blue line is still forecasted up. There's still a little bit of bullishness going on here, but it's starting to consolidate. So from a money management standpoint, what the AI is saying is that there's a predicted low of 141.70. You see a low any lower than that, you got to start asking yourself if this long-term trend or this trend is expected to continue higher. What the AI is saying is that there is still more bullishness left in the trend. What the predicted momentum is saying is that momentum is expected to start peeling off more and more over the next day or two. You combine that together and the risk on AV just shot up, staying bullish. The risk that AbbVie continues bullishly just shot up, and you can now use that to make a more informed trading decision, right? You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Looking at the chat here. Mojo, that was AbbVie for you. I think we might hit, oh, Stuart, TLT, all right. TLT. There you go. Here's the Treasury bond on TLT, and one of the things about TLT that's just been absolutely crazy is the amount of volatility that's going on from a TLT standpoint. Look at, just forget the indicators for a second. Look at the gap ups, the gap downs, the big, huge price swings, the little tiny ones. There's so much volatility going on TLT. Anytime I see a chart like that, I think, I just want to stay away from it, right? A lot of people like to trade it. I'm very familiar with it. It's something that the AI is very accurate at forecasting. But when the volatility gets like this, that is also the AI telling you something. Meaning, if the AI is looking and you see these lines jumping all over the place and you see major volatility and the AI forecasting bullishness and quickly flipping to bearishness, it's telling you that there's a lot of volatility in this, and you got to question whether or not that's something that you want to risk your money in. This is the 20-year Treasury bond. You can see it up on the screen. And right now, VantagePoint is forecasting a little bit of bullishness in TLT, but nothing. Momentum is turning bearish. You can see that neural index is bearish, so it's got a long way to go to really get bullish. I mean, just recently it's been at 104, but if we go back to the beginning of the year, I mean, the beginning of the year, it's been in this bearish trend almost 3 months now. It's gonna be hard to really break that, and the artificial intelligence is telling us that by these indicators that are rolling over. Look, momentum indicators creating lower highs, pushing lower. It's just not one of those things that the AI is saying, yeah, it's worth the risk, go have fun with it, right? Or that I know sometimes I give the AI its own human voice. It's generating market data, but I hear it saying some things like, a lot of risk here, a lot of risk on TLT, and gotta really estimate whether that matches your trade plan, right? Let me take a look at the chat, see if there's anything else that's come up. Carnival, RCL, I believe. Is that no, it's Royal Caribbean. CCL, Carnival. Yeah. Carnival. Disney. Carnival had a crossover to the downside, a profit-taking opportunity. In case you missed it, take a look. VantagePoint forecasted Carnival higher back here. The blue line stayed above from a long-term 3-day forecast in the trend all the way until here on 7/18. That was Tuesday last week. That's the profit-taking opportunity that VantagePoint was forecasting. That's the moment that VantagePoint said, okay, the AI is picked up from the global market analysis, from analyzing all those minute patterns and relationships, and said, this bullish trend is coming to an end, and now you can apply that to your trade plan and say, all right, if that bullishness is coming to an end, worst case scenario, 720, all of the indicators came into an agreement and said there is enough bearishness that there's a profit-taking opportunity on Carnival, and you can use a lot of different forecasted indicators to find different points, but no matter how you slice it, folks, that's a great trend that was forecasted, and it has now come to an end. And you can see the beginning and end of a trend that produced over 87% in hypothetical gains. Who was that? Lynn. Are you asking about Carnival because you're wondering if the AI is saying that bullish trend is over? Or are you asking about Carnival to know if the AI is saying there is a new bullish trend expected? Or maybe you like to buy puts? Tell me. Go to the chat box and just let me know what your question is related to Carnival. That'll be it's one of the things that I'm always curious about, because I love doing this analysis on these tickers. But I'm wondering where the question is coming from so that we can really dig in to what's going on. Yes, absolutely, Ashton. We've done some scanning. Go ahead and check out, for Ashton and everybody else, Ashton has a question on whether or not we've done sessions in the lives on scanning. If you're a VantagePoint family member, you might also want to go to VantagePointUniversity.com. If you have the VantagePoint software, you may want to check out VantagePointUniversity.com. That is an education for our VantagePoint family members. Also, on our channel, on our YouTube channel, if you go to the video section, if you're a subscriber and go to the lives, you'll see all of the other lives that I've done, and there is certainly one on scanning. All right. I'm at an hour and about 15 minutes, about an hour and 15 minutes on the live, so I think I'm going to wind it down. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate the input. If I didn't see your question or I didn't get to your question, Go to VantagePointForecast.com. That's forecast, VantagePointForecast.com. If you don't have the VantagePoint software and you want some of your questions and answers, let's dig into those. We're here to help. Our goal is to give as many people the opportunity not just to use artificial intelligence, but to use the first artificial intelligence capable of forecasting trends with accuracy up to 87.4%. To give people, traders, the access to AI that has 2 patents, that has been patented for decades and people have been using for decades. I mean, artificial intelligence gets better the more data you push through it. VantagePoint is the only artificial intelligence that has been pushing data through the analysis for over 30 years. Think about that. If AI gets better and more accurate with more data, there's over 30 years of live, real market conditions pushed through VantagePoint. And if you ask me, most powerful tool out there, and certainly can give you an edge. I appreciate you being involved in today's conversation. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna end the session now, but as always, we're here to help. Thank you for spending time with me, and thank you for letting me give you the view from my vantage point. Everybody have a great